Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Talk about a freaking massive move. Look at this headline from Bloomberg. Ripple Labs said to lead $1 billion fundraise for XRP Hoard. And they're not kidding. I mean, what you're talking about, based on the current price level of XRP, would be somewhere approaching 0.5% of the entire XRP supply of 100 billion. And obviously there's XRP that's been burnt, so the existing amount's slightly lower than that, but you get the cut of my jib. That's massive, 0.5%. And if you're going to tell me with a straight face, but 0.5% is a small percentage, shut up, because you know as well as I that is a gigantic, this is a singular move. This is one thing in XRP's 13 plus year history, one thing that's happening, and this one thing after a 13 plus year history, just this one instance in the XRP ecosystem, it saps up 0.5% of all XRP almost. That is gigantic. So yeah, let's talk about this. And I'm going to have a focus on why this matters for you if you are an XRP holder. But before we're going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, this piece from Bloomberg reads as follows. Ripple Labs, Inc. is leading an effort to raise at least $1 billion to accumulate XRP, the digital token linked to the company, and a sign that the recent market tumult has not stopped cryptocurrency. Heavyweights from, I read that with a weird cadence now. In a sign that the recent market tumult has not stopped cryptocurrency heavyweights from pursuing their business plans full force. The funds are being housed inside of a new digital asset treasury, or DAT, D-A-T, according to people familiar with the matter. The money will be raised through a special purpose acquisition company known as a SPAC, said some of the people, none of whom were authorized to speak publicly. Ripple will contribute some of its own XRP as well, some said. So there are a lot of question marks here. What percentage of this will come from Ripple? Hopefully, I kind of hoping it's a smaller percentage, that it's mostly just new participants jumping in here. But even if Ripple does throw in a notable chunk, understand that they said they're going to raise at least $1 billion. What if it's more? What if it's $1.2 billion? What if it's $1.5 billion? What if it's $2 billion? Well, that changed the numbers dramatically. I just don't know how high this is going to go. We know that there is tremendous demand for all things XRP, including on a business and institutional level. So it remains to be seen exactly what that's going to translate to here. But suffice it to say, probably something fantastic and rather large. That would be my guess. Anyway, representatives for Ripple did not respond to requests for comment. Exact terms of the transaction remain under discussion and could change, the people said. The planned DAT comes as crypto markets remain fragile a week after a huge sell-off that forced record liquidations. Yeah, and so we all well know that there was a roughly $20 billion liquidation just over a week ago, the largest liquidation in the history of the entire crypto asset class. XRP, depending on the exchange, I mean, it fell in some exchanges close to $1.50, others close to like $1.20. The lowest that I saw, I think, was somewhere around like 80 cents on at least one exchange. XRP fell for. It was for a split second. It's not like there was something wrong with XRP uniquely. It's just a liquidation event. People playing with money that they didn't have, which means they were playing with fire. Stop losses set, and then that cascades on down ridiculous price action. And so there we are. But think about what Ripple's actually doing here in the face of all of that. So let's talk about what this actually means. Let's talk about what this means for you as like an XRP holder, because that's what actually matters in the end. So for you as an XRP holder, let's go to the chase. It means a few things, right? First, the accumulation mechanism certainly very clearly helps reduce the risk of excess sell pressure. No one's going to argue with that. When more tokens are controlled or locked, fewer floating in the open market means improved scarcity potential, more market participants. So that's one very obvious benefit. And second, because Ripple itself plans to contribute at least some of the existing XRP holdings into this structure, it shows that they're putting skin in the game and aligning their interests with yours. Now, folks, that has always been the case, though. I stated this in the earliest of days. I was talking about this with people in my personal life in 2017 when I had almost no internet presence. I just started my account on what was then Twitter. I didn't even launch my YouTube channel until the middle of December 2018. But from the earliest of days, and I remember talking about it right after I launched my YouTube channel, I was like, understand that everything that Ripple's doing, in the back of their mind, like, XRP is at the core of it. It just is. And they're always thinking about XRP, and that impacts everything else that they're doing. So yeah, given that they have the most to lose if things don't go well for XRP, it's pretty safe to say that in many ways, their interests are aligned with yours. They do want the price of XRP to go higher, duh. And this is another thing to that end. Now, and third, as this structure mirrors the way that large institutions handle digital asset treasuries, it certainly elevates the professionalism around XRP's treasury, and certainly could attract even more serious institutional interest. Because when institutions see movements like this and they see clarity, control, aligned incentives, yeah, they lean into that. They absolutely do tend to lean into that. And this is why, like, one of my favorite quotes from Chris Larson, it's from probably like a decade ago, before I even knew XRP existed. He simply said, liquidity begets liquidity. And so you get this flywheel effect where once something is in motion, it's just like, and you can climb way, way, way higher. And in a broader sense, it provides a meaningful signal of stability, frankly, at a time when, as noted in the Bloomberg article, yeah, the market's fragile. And, while many altcoins are wobbling, sentiment's low, that's very obviously the case. Here is Ripple acting decisively, despite all of that fear in the market. Now that is bold strategic positioning. I mean, let's not mince words here. So as a holder, that doesn't mean an immediate price explosion, of course, but it does shift the odds in the right direction, that's for sure. It's definitely a net plus for anybody that holds XRP. By improving obviously it improves the XRP ecosystem and it reduces available supply. Excuse me. So it's always been the case that when Ripple has good news like this, even though it's obviously positive for XRP holders, it never moves the price of XRP immediately. But all this stuff matters over a longer period of time. Excuse me, folks. I'm still healing from my recent sickness. Let me take a sip of water. I don't want to have a coughing fit here. I'm trying to avoid that. Whew. Sorry about that. Appreciate you hanging with me. I don't even really feel sick anymore. It's just like, as I'm healing, I'm sure some of you are like this too. As you get to go through the healing process towards the end, you cough a whole lot more, and I've always been like that. It's not fun, though, when I'm trying to record a damn hot jam all up in this bitch. All right. I got my aqua. We're good. And then there was also... this... actually, I just want to make fun of Cointelegraph here. This is the same story. Look at the way that they frame this, though. Ripple's $1 billion buyback plan fails to lift price. Can XRP still rebound? Well, you dipshit. Like I said just a minute ago, before my little bout of coughs there, no, Ripple doing stuff doesn't impact immediately the price of XRP. It never has, and I don't see any indication that's going to change. It doesn't mean these things don't fundamentally matter for XRP holders, but my God, it failed? It hasn't... There's a news headline, you idiot stick. What are you talking about? It fails to lift the price. Why would that be the expectation? It's a news headline. They haven't even done this yet. Jesus Christ, these frickin' people, they've just been crapping all over XRP for the better part of a decade. It grinds my gears, but I am thankful I have a platform where I can push back against this nonsense here. And then we had this, by the way, a few days ago. Ripple buys corporate treasury management company GTreasury for $1 billion. So yeah, Ripple's been more than a little bit busy. Another massive, massive acquisition here. Ripple acquired corporate treasury management company GTreasury for $1 billion as part of a business acquisition strategy to expand its operations. The deal gives Ripple infrastructure to manage digital assets held in corporate treasuries, including stablecoins and tokenized deposits, which can be used to generate yield for clients. That's according to a Thursday announcement. GTreasury's corporate treasury management tools, alongside Ripple's suite of blockchain rails, allow the funds to be accessed 24/7 and sent with near instant settlement in cross-border transactions. And so this is exactly in line with the types of moves we've seen from them. But let me share with you first what Brad Garlinghouse had to say, and then I'll share with you what I'm talking about. But here's a post from Brad Garlinghouse. Today, Ripple is breaking into the $120 trillion corporate treasury payments market with the $1 billion acquisition of GTreasury. The past few years have reminded this industry why payments, first and foremost, is the primary use case for crypto and blockchain. And I'll pause to note, that was the whole purpose of XRP. They were trying to build a better Bitcoin. And if you ask David Schwartz, well, what did you think it would be used for? And he's like, well, we didn't know for sure, but and I'm paraphrasing, broadly speaking, just something with payments. And I saw many years ago David Schwartz make that exact point, and it is true. It's obvious. That's why remittances is such an obvious thing to go after, and that's what Ripple started with. Utilizing XRP as a bridge currency here. But just broadly speaking, it's anything having to do with payments. Yes. Perfect for that, and so Ripple's still going for it. The Internet of Value, as they call it here, which is just the concept of moving value as quickly as you can move information today via the internet, like email. Just being able to move anything of value, money, crypto, whatever it is, just instantaneously, like you're just as quick as sending a text message. Anyway, then he says payments are where Ripple first started for exactly these reasons. The infrastructure is complex, siloed, and inefficient, but as we know, perfectly positioned to benefit from decentralized financial technologies. Astounding amounts of cash are trapped in outdated payment systems, creating friction, unnecessary costs, and barriers to entering new markets. GTreasury has been serving some of the most well-known brands for decades, and now, together with Ripple, will be able to help CFOs manage all their assets, including stablecoins, tokenized deposits, etc., at scale around the world, as well as put their idle capital to work with repo markets via Hidden Road. And so that was fascinating to see at the end, because Hidden Road, that's the most meaningful acquisition, in just my personal opinion, that I've ever seen from Ripple. It was over like what, $1.2 billion or $1.25 billion or something like that. Massive purchase. Prime brokerage firm. That's what Hidden Road is. And they're literally going to be tokenizing all those. By the way, it's $3 trillion in annual transactions on Hidden Road, and they're going to be tokenizing $3 trillion of assets of transactions rather on the XRP ledger. That is what they are doing. They're tokenizing all of it, and XRP is required for every single one of those freaking transactions. I'm telling you, XRP is here to stay. It is an obvious winner of the crypto space for anybody that's paying attention. That's why Hidden Road was so excited here. And now they found a tie-in opportunity with this new company that they just bought. Another cool $1 billion out the window for GTreasury. GTreasury. I'm for it, man. Keep dropping that chat on all these companies that make sense. Because this is fantastic for every single XRP holder out there. And I will continue to articulate why. And we shouldn't, again, like I said a couple minutes ago, this is not an acquisition that should surprise anybody if you've been paying attention. Ripple openly jumped into custody, close to 2.5 years ago at this point. Remember this headline from Reuters? Ripple buys crypto custody firm Medico for $250 million. That was May 18th, 2023, 2.5 years ago, just about. So they've been putting down some real money for a real long time now. And that wasn't the only one. Then there was also this one, February 2024, Ripple to acquire Standard Custody, so another custody firm here. They never did, as far as I'm aware, publicly announce how much they spent on that bad boy. But real money, definitely real money. So to know that had already happened. And then you see GTreasury here. Very happy to see that. This is fantastic. It's really nice having a company like Ripple to be a notable figure within the XRP ecosystem, because it just is good for this. Like, incentives are aligned on this, making sure everything is done to have XRP continue to be a long-term viable product, and it just is. In the world of cryptocurrency, it just is. So, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty thrilled to see this. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because if anything I say are right, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.